I don't know why really, but I always thought of Peterborough as one of those so-called new towns, expanded as dormitory places for London, so how could its cathedral be of much historic interest? I should have known better, having made the English Cathedrals Beginner's Guide. Anyway, this building was the church of a Benedictine abbey, building of which commenced in 1118. Incidentally, just notice here how the semicircular east end of the building has a new square bit added onto it. But the history of this site goes back even before 1118. Piada, king of Mercia, who was the son of Penda, had converted to Christianity. Around 655 he established a monastery here. At that time this place was called Medishemstede. I hope that's the right way to pronounce it because I've never heard it said before. After our circuit of the building we've arrived at the Minster Yard. The cathedral is dedicated to St. Peter, St. Paul and St. Andrew. This west front was added to the building at the beginning of the 13th century in the new Early English style. Each arch carries a representation of one of the three saints. This triple-arched frontage was an innovation and was never copied. It is therefore unique. So let's have a look inside. Just inside, to the left, have a look at the exhibition on the history of the site. Looks as if they had some nice rugs anyway. And what we have inherited here, albeit with additions from later times, is very largely the original Romanesque Norman building. Above the communion table, this hanging crucifix, or rood, was designed by George Pace in 1975, and the figure of Christ is by Frank Roper. These elaborately carved choir stalls are very nice, but be aware that they are Victorian, around 1890, the medieval ones having been destroyed by Vandals during the Civil War. But that's being a bit unfair on the Vandals, really. The people who did this were English and nominally Christians. Like at Ely, Norwich and so many other places, they gratuitously destroyed anything they could get their hands on. Let's just move towards the east end with its Norman semicircular apse and round arches. Now we'll look into the north transept. These ardent Christians were under the command of Colonel Cromwell, and they broke down the locked doors of the building to carry out their mission. The place had already, of course, been through the trauma of the dissolution under Henry VIII. The monastery was dissolved, but the church, fortunately, was redesignated as a cathedral for a new diocese of Peterborough. We'll now move towards that new square east end which we noted outside. This was added around 1500 AD. It is believed to have been designed by John Wastel, the architect of King's College Chapel, Cambridge, Bell Harry Tower at Canterbury, and probably Lavenham Church in Suffolk. Why we can't be sure about an important thing like this, I'm not sure. In this area you can see what is known as the Monk's Stone or Hedda's Stone. This could be a memorial to Abbot Hedda and the monks who were slaughtered by the Danes. This is one of the few artifacts which were transferred from the pre-Norman monastic building. One of the monks in the mid-12th century, Hugh Candidus, left us a record of some of the precious items held by the abbey at the time. These included 2 pieces of swaddling clothes which had wrapped the baby Jesus, a piece of Jesus' manger, a part of the 5 loaves which fed the 5,000, a piece of the raiment of St. Mary, and a piece of Aaron's rod. Possession of these things would encourage visits from pilgrims, which contributed to the riches of the abbey. They also had one of the arms of St. Oswald. It was kept in this chapel. Now, being so rich, you would have thought they could afford CCTV to keep an eye on this precious relic. But no, one of the monks would go up these stairs and keep an eye on it through this spy hole. Near here you can see this coal miner's lamp. Can anybody tell me why it's here? Beneath it is a memorial plaque to Nurse Edith Cavell. Perhaps you've seen this memorial at Norwich Cathedral, where she is buried. As a child, she was at school here. While we're at the East End, let's mention the ciborium, which we've seen several times already. Let's first focus on that window you can see down there, which is right at the West End, and then we'll come back to the ciborium. This ciborium, or altar cover, was designed by J.L. Pearson and installed in 1894. As usual, there is much more to see than we've been able to cover in this film. This wooden roof is late 15th century. Mary, Queen of Scots, was buried here after she was beheaded at nearby Fotheringay. James I later ordered that her body be moved to Westminster Abbey. Catherine of Aragon's tomb is here. This may well have saved the building after the dissolution when it was designated as a cathedral. So once again it seems that we are fortunate to have inherited such a marvellous building in spite of everything. You should go and see it if you can. Only a few years ago some loony started a fire which fortunately was spotted in time but coated everything in sticky soot. So we'll leave for now, past Beckett's Chapel and out of the Norman Archway.